What a heartbreaker, man. Went from not looking like West Virginia had a chance to win the game to actually looking like they might actually win the game to losing the game. It's like sometimes I question why I become a sports fan because it is the emotional roller coaster sometimes, man, just gets the best of you. Today's one of those days. This was, in my opinion, a very winnable football game. West Virginia was able to drive down the field early and dominate the first quarter, but only score 3 points. Now, some of that, in my opinion, is on Rich Rodriguez. Maybe he probably should have kicked a couple field goals there. The ball game might turn out differently if he doesn't go for it every freaking time. Okay, number one, I love Rich Rod, but I'm going to call a spade here. This was not, in my opinion, his best game. That being said, it also didn't help that Dior Hubbard was obviously banged up because we saw Sincere Bowers get most of the snaps throughout the game, and obviously we saw Curtis Jones some more as well. It didn't help that Cam Vaughn obviously had apparently had been sick some this week and missed a lot of practice, and he was not 100% today. That didn't help. Very, very limited, if any, vertical passing game to speak of. It was basically a one-dimensional football team, and still somehow, some way, at the end, they had a chance to win the game. So you've got to give them credit for that. They fought. They never gave up. They never quit. They had toughness. They had the hard edge. And they gave us hope there at the end. But, man, there was so many blown opportunities. And I bet Rich Rod's going to be furious. I hate to be the media in the post-game press conference because he's probably not going to be in a very good mood. But, man, it is just going to be, oh, my gosh, the blown opportunities early in the game in the red zone, penalties at very inopportune times, the roughing the passer penalty. And I don't know if Braden Siders could have stopped his momentum on that or not. I don't like that call there, but the rules are the rules. And that potentially cost the team the game at the end because that puts them in field goal range. The defense did a good job the last two drives, in my opinion, of stepping up and getting stops. But that penalty put them in field goal range and allowed them to kick that field goal to win the game. Again, not sure if should have done anything or not. I don't, without going back and watching the slow-mo replay, it's kind of hard to tell. But that was an absolutely killer penalty. Killer penalty. You can't have a backup quarterback, a guy who's passing for like 50% in his career, in Jeff Sims, go out and play one of the best games of his life. Completed 19 out of 28 passes for 207 yards and 3 touchdowns, 68% completion percentage. This is a career 50% passer. West Virginia's defense allowed him to put up 260% of his passes, 68% of his passes. Now, he only threw for 207. But you've got to do a better job than that in pass defense. You have to get more pressure on him without having to blitz because every time they blitzed, he ate them up. In my opinion, the defensive front got beaten in this game. West Virginia's defensive front got beat in this game and were unable to get any pressure on Jeff Sims, and the secondary was not able to cover longer than a couple seconds. They had some blown, in my opinion, some blown assignments, blown coverages, whatever as well. So some of this is on them. It's not all on the defensive front. But if you cannot stop those, I don't know how many explosive plays they had. I look forward to seeing that in the stats. But you just cannot have that. You cannot have that many guys open in a football game. And despite all that, you still had a chance to win the game. I had a super chat come in. Let me check out who that is. Thank you all for joining me live in this post-game reaction show. John, what are you talking about, man? Show me your degree. Are you talking to me or somebody else? I don't have to show you jack. If you're talking to me, I don't have to show you jack squat. I don't know what you're even talking about. I've got a 4-year Bachelor's of Science degree from Bluefield State College, now Bluefield State University in Bluefield, West Virginia, in business administration. What else do you want from me? What are you talking about? I'm about tired of you Pitt fans anyway. I got JJ Kitchen in my comments today. I did get in his comments to talk a little smack, but it started out fun, and then he starts calling me names like a little small child. He calling me son. JJ, I'm almost old enough to be your dad. Don't call me son. Shut your freaking pie hole. Sorry, I don't mean to get off on that rant. But anyway, I want to get back to the game. Got another super chat here I want to address. Daniel Gigax, thank you, brother. He chimes in a $9.99 donation. He says, Rod should have been smarter, but this isn't the old Big East, not the old Pac-12, not Conference USA. The new Big 12 is tough. It's tougher if you're stupid. Yeah, man, Rich Rod is, I love Rich Rod again, and I think, the grit the team played with down the stretch, a lot of that has to be attributed to him. Okay, so there are a lot of positive things, but I felt like I felt like they didn't throw the ball enough downfield. Now, some of that could have been on Scotty making bad decisions at the quarterback position. I don't know. And some of that could have been on Rich Rod's play calling. I have no idea. Again, Cam Vaughn not being 100% didn't help, but he did make a couple plays in this game. So, it's not like he wasn't available. He didn't start, but he was in the game. Not sure what the deal was there, why they didn't make more plays downfield, but West Virginia basically became a predictable football team. Arizona State knew what they were going to do before they did it. They knew that they were going to run a draw on 1st and 20. They knew they were going to give the ball to Curtis Jones every time he came in the game. That became predictable. The play calling was predictable. I will admit that. I will say, and I've been a staunch defender of Rich Rod, but in this game, man, he made some calls. I mean, why in the world? I understand going for it once and not getting it 3 different times. Well, 2 different times he could have kicked field goals, chose not to do it, got stopped. And then the first time they did kick a field goal, made it. But I understand wanting to get 7 points there. But you take the points. This is a different football game. You left 6 points out on the board right there, at least. I understand you really left more than that because you should have got 7, and the guys didn't execute. Kick the football. You have a good kicker, especially from short range, man. He's a really good kicker. Use him. No excuses, man. The injuries, the game was winnable. You had it right there in the palm of your hands, man. And I get execution wasn't there. The O-line didn't play terrible, didn't play great. And I will say, Dior Hubbard being banged up hurt this football team. God bless Sincere Bowers, that play he made when that screen was awesome. And that's the capability he gives you with that speed. But he's also not as good as Hubbard at breaking tackles. And he doesn't have this. It looks like he doesn't have the same ability to make people miss as far as his, agility, side to side agility. Yes, he's fast, breakaway speed fast, and he also doesn't seem to have the same vision as Dior Hubbard has in the run game. So I felt like they took a little bit of a step back with Hubbard being banged up. But again, that play he made at the end of the game, they're not even in it if he doesn't make that play. So you have to give him credit for that. Let me go see who's in the comments here. John Waffle H2P says, "Oh, so you have never attended WVU? What does that have anything to do with it? I tell you what, John Waffle, I don't even want your money. Get your ass out of my chat now, or I'm gonna block you. I'm sick. Go on. Get out. Keep your money, man. You're done. What's going to West Virginia have to do with it? Has nothing to do with it. You don't have to go to a college to be a fan of the team, you imbecile. I tried to block you. I hope it worked because I don't want to see your chat or your face or your name in my chat room again. You're a freaking moron. Browns and Beers in the house. Says, always said that developing Scotty was more important than making a bowl after the Houston game. But this does sting. It does, man, and I didn't think it would. I'm very, as you can tell, I'm very emotional right now, very frustrated. That game was right there, man, right there. I already had an idea for how I was going to start the video had we won. I already, was excited about putting on the coonskin cap, and then they blow it. WVU fan 13 says, "Why are we running up the middle on a 2-point conversion, buddy?" I don't know. That was frustrating. They knew it was coming. They knew the play you were going to run, and you run it anyway. But I'm also going to play devil's advocate here a little bit. They were unable. Again, they didn't seem to try it a lot, but it seemed to me like maybe they were struggling to get the ball down the field in the vertical passing game, and it made them one-dimensional to a degree. And we saw that in that last drive. They kept just throwing short, rinky-dink passes, dink-and-dunk passes to Weimer and Bowie. Throw the ball down the field, man. You've got one of the best receivers in the league out there. Let him run a fade route and just throw it. When you're in a situation like that, it's a must-have. Throw the ball to your best player. Was he even on the field in that play? I don't know. Get Cam Vaughn the football in that situation, in my opinion. You were that close to being a 5-6 football team with a lot to play for next week. I know it would have been a tough hill to climb with Texas Tech because they're an extremely good football team. But the guys would have, I guarantee you, they would have come out and played a very, very tough football game next weekend if they had that opportunity. George Wagner in the house with a donation. Thank you, brother. He says, "You're the man, Couz. I appreciate that." I'm sorry I'm so emotional, guys. I try not to be like this when I do these shows, but sometimes it's hard. I am a fan. I don't hide from that. And I have been arguing with Pitt fans almost the entire day. And I just can't deal with it anymore. And he comes in here for no reason other than to talk smack when his team just got the wood laid to him. And oh, by the way, John Waffle and JJ Kitchen, any other Pitt fan listening, how's it feel for your basketball team to get a belt taken to your ass 71-49? How'd that feel? Huh? Tell me. How did it feel? We own you this year in football and basketball, and you can't handle it. You can't handle it. Yes, we're going to be a 4 or 5 win football team. But we beat you, and you can't handle it, man. So, anyway, let's go ahead and talk stats here. I thought maybe I missed another super chat. Let me make sure I didn't. I want to make sure I get to super chats. If you guys are going to spend your money, I'm going to address no, it was the John Waffle one. Henry Scallott's in the house. Thank you, Henry. He says Pitt fans are coping hard from getting swept this year. Yeah, they're at another level, man. They are like losing it. They're losing their minds right now. They can't stand it. The play calling was bad. I agree at times. Rich Rod's not horrible, Curtis. Should have taken points earlier in the game. I don't think he's horrible, man. I mean, yes, I disagreed with a lot of the things he did today, but he's bringing the culture back to West Virginia football, the hard edge culture. I think he's doing a really good job in recruiting. At least, we'll see that hopefully here in the next few weeks. I still think there are a lot of positives going on in this football program. This is a team that really shouldn't even be. You got to realize Arizona State is still in the mix for a Big 12 title and is a very talented football team. Yes, they're without Leavitt. Yes, they're without Tyson and a couple others. But they are still a really good football team. They were in the playoff a year ago with a lot of these same guys on the roster. They're a good football team. And West Virginia is a team who really should not even be competing with them right now with all the injuries they have, having a new roster, a new coaching staff. It really, on paper, remember, the spread was around, 10.5, 11.5 or so, and West Virginia darn near wins the football game. There's a lot of fight in this team, man. Despite all the, despite not being able to execute, despite the bad play calls, whatever we want to criticize, they have a lot of fight and a lot of heart. And that is from Rich Rodriguez, in my opinion. He's the one who's brought that mentality. And you see how this team plays better late in games. Again, that's Rich Rod's coaching, in my opinion. So, yes, he did some things I don't agree with, made some bad decisions, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, he's also building a culture that I would like and I think we needed. David Cummings in the house says when you're inside the 10 and only get 3 points in 3 tries, that's not winning football. Take the damn points. Agree. Especially that second time, right? I kind of agree. I might have been okay with it the first time. I was actually like, okay, go for it here. But the second time I was like, look, you got to take the points now. You've already, you're struggling to move the football against these guys. You've got to take points. I just, I don't know. ASU's wide receivers had several drops. Absolutely, they did. They were giving ASU made mistakes in this game that gave West Virginia opportunities, and they could not capitalize on the opportunities. That's do have to give a shout out to Greg Generoff for blocking that punt or that kick field goal rather. My gosh, the vertical leap on that guy! Holy cow, unbelievable! I do want to shout out that there were some positives in this game that we need to address, but definitely the play calling is fair to question. The clock management at times is fair to question. They weren't able to get a play in on that last timeout. They were late in the game when they were trying to run the 2-point conversion. Had to burn a timeout there that they probably could have used. Ended up not really needing it, but because they weren't able to move the ball on the last drive anyway. But there was a lot of clunky things that I didn't agree with. Thank you, Daniel, for the reminder to like and hype. Yeah, if you're watching this on the playback, it doesn't work on lives, but if you're watching on the playback on a mobile device, there's a hype button down low that you can hit and really helps get my content out there. David Freeline in the house. James Green says, Couz, what is your Cash App? It's it's hashtag Couz's Corner, bud. I appreciate you thinking about me, man. I really do. But it's Cash App. It's just hashtag Couz's Corner. That's it. It's pretty simple. I appreciate you. How does a punter start cramping? You remember when we had that happen? Was it last year or year before we saw that happen? In his defense, Tosh, it was hot out there. I think it was in the 80s. So maybe that was why, but definitely more than cover the spread, Kevin. You got that right. Nancy Hodges says, why do my team suck ass? Well, I'm a Buffalo Bills fan. I've watched my team blow 4 Super Bowl or blow a Super Bowl and get blown out in 3. Then they can't beat the Chiefs in another window to be good in the Josh Allen era. Now they're blowing it again this year. So you tell me. I'm right there with you. L. Lee says Rich Rodriguez's lack of play calling under pressure is sickening. Inside the 10-yard line 3 times in the first half and walked away with 3 points, running up the middle 7 consecutive times. I agree. I didn't like the play calls there. I thought they were too predictable, but you've also got to get pushed there. You have got, if you're the offensive line of West Virginia, if you're the tight ends, whoever, you have got to get push and move bodies backwards. I mean, it goes both ways. Yes, I thought they should have tried something a little different there. And remember there, that one play they called a pass play. They tried to run a pass play, and it was just covered up. There was nowhere to go with the football. Scotty tried to make a play with it. And there must have been a few times, if you guys recall early in the game there, I think it was in the first half, Rich Rodriguez was yelling at Scotty Fox on the sideline. You could read his lips. He said, throw the effing ball. So apparently he missed something. That tells me that there were times that he was calling pass plays down the field, and maybe he wasn't making the throws. I don't know. But Scotty Fox did not have his best. He had pretty good numbers, but he didn't have his best game today, in my opinion. I thought he left some throws out there. I thought his decision-making at times was not the greatest. Reagan McNeil Exorcist, thank you for the super chat. Says Notre Dame beat the brakes off Pitt. So STFU. I like it, brother. I like it. Or sister. I'm not sure. I don't want to assume what your gender is. But anyway, thank you, Reagan, for that super chat. WV Fan 13, you didn't, man, so generous. I really appreciate that. Says this loss is square on the shoulders of Rich Rod. We have abysmal O-line, getting better, but we have never been able to run up the middle on 3rd, 4th, and short. Yet we go up the middle on 2-point conversion. A lot of work next year. How about the women's basketball? Yes, I'm going to stop here for a minute. Thank you for this super chat. This is going to, I forgot to do the applause for the rest of y'all. So this is going to be for all the super chats in this show. Thank you all. But I totally agree. Too many play calls up the middle, too many predictable play calls up the middle. Arizona State, now, they did have an extra week to prepare, but, West Virginia looked to me like they didn't make enough adjustments mid-game, just personally. And I still, again, I agree with you, but I also wonder if they just were not, maybe he didn't feel like they were able to execute anything else. You know what I mean? But, man, you got to at least try something, right? What's the definition of insanity? Trying the same thing over and over again, expecting the same results? And yeah, you were able to get it 1 or 2 times with Curtis Jones in there, but when he's in the game, they know you're giving him the ball. And that makes it too predictable. You need to bring him in occasionally and not give him the ball. Maybe he's not ready to do that yet. Maybe he's not a good enough blocker for that. So that might put him in a little bit of a tricky situation, but they knew when he was in the game, it was going to him. Maybe there was a time or two I thought Scotty should have faked it to him, pulled it, and ran around the edge. Again, some of that may lay on Scotty Fox's shoulders too, some of the decisions in the play calling. But as far as the women's basketball team, I want to stop there for a minute before I haven't even got to the stats for this game yet. We'll get there. But how about that women's basketball team? That is, especially, I think anybody understands this, but especially those of you who have played sports at any level. You understand that how hard it is to play an entire half of a game, especially against a team as good as Duke, with not only 4 of your starters out, but only 5 players total to play the entire half. And then a big chunk of that was played with one of your players in foul trouble. And not only did you win, but you came back to win. You were losing when it happened. I don't know if we'll ever see that again. We need to stop and realize, and unfortunately, I shouldn't say unfortunately, I was having a really fun night with my family, having a game night, but I was not able to watch the game, but I was able to go back and watch some of the highlights. I saw obviously the scuffle there that caused the ejections and all that. Read articles on it and whatnot, so I'm aware of everything that happened. But I don't know that we'll ever see that again. It would have been really cool to see that in person and to actually be there and be part of that. For those of you who are at the Greenbrier to see that, it's going to be something you'll never forget. But what an awesome accomplishment for Mark Kellogg, his staff, and really big a shout out goes to those young ladies. They played their tails off. A young lady that was averaging 2 points a game dropped double digits. I think she ended up with 12 points. Just absolute wonderful. As a matter of fact, I'm going to give them applause. This applause is for you, the West Virginia women's basketball team, for your performance over Duke with only 5 players. You deserve this. I'm going to try to get me figure out a way to get me some more sound effects. I'm still working on that. I am not a tech savvy guy, so I'm still working on that. But for now, the applause will have to do. But thank you, WVU Fan 13, for reminding me of that. Thank you for the very, very generous donation and for being part of the show. And Jake T's in the house, who's a VIP member as well. He says, as heartbreaking as it is, losing games by only 2 with all we've been through this year is still better than I expected to see at this point. Yes, that's the thing about it. That's why I'm kind of mad at myself for getting so emotional, because 4 or 5 weeks ago, we thought this team was never going to win another game. Or even because the team was getting the doors blown off of them by teams that they shouldn't have been getting blown out by, Kansas and UCF primarily. And at that point in time, we thought, man, this team we're not winning another game this year. We can't even be competitive. They're not only being competitive, but they're winning a few games, and they're right there in the games at the end against teams who really they should not be there with. Let's be honest. West Virginia should not be competing like this against Arizona State, considering the rosters, considering the situations and the injuries. Now, I know Arizona State had a lot of injuries too, so the injuries is probably a wash. But when you put everything else into the equation, it really shouldn't have even been a close football game on paper anyway. But it was. And this team showed us that they can win games and compete. So obviously as a fan, you get your hopes up a little bit. Your expectations increase a little bit, and you get frustrated. And for those of you who might have been offended or felt like I was overboard in the beginning of the show with my emotions, I apologize. It was not my intent. But anyway, you guys know me well enough to know I'm a fan, and I wear my emotions on my sleeve at times. So it is what it is. James Green, thank you, brother. He says, couldn't get your Cash App to go in. Thanks, Couz. Appreciate all your time. James, buddy, I appreciate you, man. And I appreciate you making the effort. I might have even given you the wrong cash tag, buddy. I haven't used it in so long. But I appreciate the effort. And either way, man, you still gave me a donation, and it's much appreciated. It means a lot. It means a lot. Let's go ahead and talk about the stats here of this game. West Virginia goes into the half. The second quarter, they played absolutely atrocious. They gave up 22 points, was only able to score 7 in the second quarter. And then in the fourth quarter, they actually outplayed Arizona State 13-3. Third quarter was 0-0. So they dominated the first quarter and the fourth quarter. But even with that first quarter domination, like we've talked about, they were only able to come away with 3 points. That's not winning football, not in the Big 12. You have to come away with 7 points. If you're in the red zone 4 times, you should score at least 3 touchdowns, in my opinion, or 2 touchdowns and a field goal. But to only come away with one field goal out of 4 or 5 trips into the red zone, it can't happen. Cannot happen. See. According to the stats, they were in the red zone 4 times and scored twice. But yes, that's right, they were. So, but one time was a field goal and one was a touchdown, I believe. So there were 2 times they came away with 0 points. Scotty Fox Jr. was 19 of 31, 353 yards, 2 touchdowns, and that late pick, 61% completion percentage. You know, on paper, his numbers are not bad. Those are pretty decent numbers. So hard to be too hard on the young man, but I do think he left some plays out there. I felt like a few times, again, like he should have kept it and ran around the edges or something. But again, it's not all on him. He didn't get a ton of help around him. Sincere Bowers ran it 13 times for 42 yards, average of 3.2 yards. They're just not getting anything in the run game, man. 1.7 yards per carry in this game for the team. It's not, you're not going to win a lot of football games that way. And that goes back to our frustration as fans as to why he kept running. He ran the ball 39 times and averaged 1.7 yards. If you're not getting yards, why do you keep running the football? I mean, there comes a time when your best option might be just throw the ball up to Cam Vaughn, let him go get it. You know what I mean? Especially in times when you've got to have something. I'm not saying do that on 4th down, but man, come on. It's frustrating to see these numbers, man. Leading receiver was Gerard Bowie, who had 4 catches, only had 34 yards, but had 4 catches. Leading receiver as far as yards go was Jeff Weimer, who had 3 catches for 90 yards. Cam Vaughn had 3 catches for 79 yards. Weimer did have that touchdown catch as well. And then Grayson Barnes had 3 catches, and Sincere Bowers had 2, including that one long one of 90 yards. He had 2 catches for 89 yards and a 90-yard reception, so he lost a yard on the other one. That's different. That's a different stat. Arizona State, Jeff Sims, 19 of 28, 207 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, 68% completion percentage. Again, it's a quarterback that averaged about 50% completion percentage throughout his career, and you let him get complete 68%. Not good enough. He also was a leading rusher, 17 carries, 81 yards, an average of 4.8 yards per rush. Raleek Brown carried it 14 times, 53 yards on the day for the Sun Devils. Derek Eusebio was the leading receiver on the day, had 6 catches for 74 yards and a touchdown, was targeted 7 times. So those are your leading players on both teams. For team stats, West Virginia actually outgained Arizona State, 421 to 330. 353 to 207 through the air, as I already mentioned. The rushing yards, though, is where it was at. Arizona State 123 to West Virginia 68. Both teams had 5 penalties. West Virginia had 20 yards worth of West Virginia had 20 first downs. Arizona State had 18 first downs. The penalty yards, though, was a big difference. West Virginia had 5 penalties for 70 yards. Arizona State 5 penalties for 31 yards, because West Virginia's penalties were 15-yarders in a lot of cases. You know, Fred Perry, 2 15-yard penalties in a row. You can't have that, man. You have to be more disciplined. I saw somebody, it was the Beard, I believe. Shout out to him on X, who put the question out on X. Is Fred Perry even really worth it? I think he is. I think he's that good of a player, and it means that much to the team. But you have got to be more disciplined. But we kind of knew what we were getting with him. You know, Jacksonville State fans warned us. We were going to see a lot of 15-yard penalties, and we have. Third down conversions, 6 for 15 for West Virginia, 6 of 15 for Arizona State. Fourth down conversions, 1 of 4 for West Virginia, 0 of 1 for Arizona State. It's not good. West Virginia, you know, you've got to convert those, more of those. West Virginia ran only 70 plays. They like to run 90. Average yards per play, 6 for the average 6 yards per play for the Mountaineers, 4.9 for Arizona State. That's a surprising stat. I didn't see that coming. Average yards per completion, 18.6 for the Mountaineers, 10.9 for Arizona State. Sack adjusted rush yards, 96 for the Mountaineers, 125 for Arizona State. I mentioned the red zone. Arizona State was 2 for 2 in the red zone. West Virginia's defense was not able to get stops in the red zone, and their defense was. Turnovers, 1 for the West Virginia, 1 for Arizona State. Arizona State lost a fumble. West Virginia had the pick. And then Arizona State sacked Scotty Fox 3 times for 28 yards. West Virginia was only able to sack Sims 1 time for 2-yard loss. And then tackles for loss, each team had 6. So, I mean, when you look at those stats, it obviously kind of shows you it was a tight football game. Basically, what it boils down to is when it was crucial times in the game and West Virginia needed to make plays, they did not make them. And when Arizona State needed to make plays, they did for the most part. I think that's the difference. That's really the difference in the game. I mean, that and West Virginia's inability to run football. I mean, those two things right there were just the two critical caveats to this game that really you have got to score in the red zone, and you have got to stop the other team from scoring in the red zone, which West Virginia didn't do either very well. And then the penalties, again, didn't help, especially that one there at the end from Siders. But just overall, just a very frustrating game because you see these stats and you see that West Virginia outplayed Arizona State in a lot of areas, and you still come up short by 2 points. It's just so daggone frustrating. But I'll guarantee you we're not as frustrated as what Rich Rod and the boys are, though. Horror Realm, thank you for the super chat. He says, we need corners. I don't know if it's the corners or the safeties. I really don't know. I mean, our corners have played pretty darn good this year for the most part, especially Michael Coates. I think it's just our overall defense, pass defense. You know, not getting enough pressure on the quarterback was big. I'm looking forward to sorry about that. I'm looking forward to seeing the PFF grades come out to see exactly how many QB hurries West Virginia has versus, in this game, it didn't seem like they had a whole lot. Big plays. Let's look at big plays. West Virginia's defense once again gave up 9 big plays in this game for 101 yards. West Virginia, though, had 8 big plays of their own for 299. So, that was pretty even. Runs stuffed. West Virginia stuffed 8 runs. Arizona State stuffed 9 runs. Rush success rate, 39 for West Virginia, 34 for Arizona State. Gosh, man. So many stats that are just neck and neck, and the game was right there for the taking. Right there for the taking. Reading through the stats has just got me even more frustrated. Defense didn't play a terrible game today. You held Arizona State to what? What'd I say? How many rushing yards did I say they had? Let me go back to the previous screen here. I know it was over 100, but it wasn't a ton. Rush yards, 123. West Virginia had the last 2 or 3 games they had given up less than 100 yards rushing. That was probably the difference in this game today. That was another one of the keys to why they lost. They gave up over 100 yards rushing, weren't able to rush for over 100 yards themselves. Again, too many big plays defensively. And just not being able to make plays when they need to make plays. I mean, that's at the end of the day, golly, man. I'm sorry, y'all. This is just frustrating reading through these. It's depressing. Depressing. Anyway, let's get back to the chat. What we got from you guys. Bluff Creek Bigfoot's in the house. 2 missed field goal opportunities for Rich Rod. Seymour Wang in the house. I truly believe Tech is in a couple weeks. It will be in the definition of a trap game. It'll be interesting to see, though, if this West Virginia team with not much to play for, how do they come out? Do they come out flat? Do they come out, ready to spoil Texas Tech season? What's their mentality coming into the game? They do have a bye week now. In my opinion, this is not a good time for a bye week. I mean, it is from a physical standpoint. You want to get your guys healthy. But, man, when you lose a game this close like this, I think sometimes it benefits them just to be able to go out and play again right away, because you've got to let this now simmer for 2 weeks. Jacob Yoho in the house says, I can't believe Bowers ran out of gas. That was but he got there, though, man. That's all that matters. Curtis D316 says, even if we had won, I believe that Ohio game was going to come back and haunt us. Yeah, I mean, you can't lose. You can't lose to MAC teams, man, period. I mean, it was definitely a hard one. Jeff Stockert says, if Rich Rod could have kicked 3 field goals and didn't win for 4th down. That might be the story of this game. Rich Rod not kicking field goals, right? And I know he's going to get asked about it. He probably already has while I'm doing this show, and I guarantee he'll be upset about being asked. But that's the media's job. Tyler Cobb, thank you for joining the show, brother. He says a 4-6 team that got blown out by UCF just hung around with a borderline Big 12 contender. A 2-point loss is nothing to be ashamed of. Yes, it sucks, but we are showing more and more promise each week. Great positive comment, Tyler. I appreciate it. And you're right. You're absolutely 100% right. But it's going to take a little bit to get over the sting of this loss for me, because the game was right there for us. Think about it. We're a 15-yard penalty away from winning the football game, basically. Lots of guys last game ever think they'll be fired up. Well, we thought that last year with West. Well, they still had a bowl game to play, but last year this West Virginia team, under Neil Brown came out, had Texas Tech coming in and got absolutely boat raced, and that Texas Tech team is nowhere as good as this one. So, you'd have thought they'd have come out wanting to win 7 games instead of 6 and guaranteeing a winning season, but it didn't. They didn't seem to happen. Henry F. Scalats says, I'd love to know why we went back to the original offensive line after the modified line at Houston played so well and actually got pushed. I have no idea, Henry. It's a great question. Now, they did keep Donovan Haslam in at least because he's played pretty darn well. But why did you not keep Walter Youngbear on the right side of the O-line? I don't know. I have no idea, man. It's a question just about every fan's asking, to be honest. DRP4, another VIP member, thank you for chiming in, says game was there to be won. Just too many critical misses. Absolutely. Absolutely. Seymour says, I missed the game, unfortunately, but I'm proud to see the close score. This is a world of difference to me to a few months ago. You're right. And there's a part of me that wishes I'd have missed the game, to be honest, because I'm so daggone aggravated and frustrated. WVU Fan 13 says, so the question needs to be asked. Who plays next week? WVU is officially in next season mode now. Who do we keep? What do we go get? And that's what Rich Rod and his coaching staff is going to sit down and do during the bye week. They're going to go over player by player on the roster, decide who they want to keep, who they don't, and then they'll make decisions from there. How much do they offer each guy from a rev share standpoint? How many guys do they try to get NIL deals for? All those types of things. Those are the conversations. But first things first, you've got to decide who you keep. And I think I'm probably going to do a video on this during the bye week about, what players do you keep, or, and do you want to try to keep, and which ones do you, let walk if they want to walk? That's, or do you even ask, encourage them to leave, maybe go somewhere else? Justin Ayersman in the house. He was begging for a field goal when they were down 22-10. Absolutely, man. A 22-13 game. You're down. You're still down 9 points though. Man. I'm thinking out loud here. Does being down 9 really help you? Either way, it's a 2. You still got to have 2 touchdowns, right? Or no, or you could be. See, being down 9 means you need a touchdown and a field goal. Whereas being down, if you get it and score a touchdown, or score it and don't get it, rather, you're down 12. You need 2 touchdowns. So yeah, I mean that's definitely different, right? It's a different, and it gives you a little bit of momentum, I guess. Players do have to execute. There's enough blame to go around for sure. Offensive line's got to get pushed on 4th and short. Running backs have to break more tackles. Receivers have to catch passes. The quarterback's got to throw the ball better in some cases. The defense has got to stop giving up so many big plays. All of that defensive front's got to get more pressure on the quarterback. All of that plays a role here. But you've also have to lay some of the blame, if not most of it, at the feet of the coach because A, he's the coach, and it's his job to get the guys to execute. And B, I do question some of the decisions. Diane Webb in the house says, I was watching and seeing the 90-yard touchdown to bring them to 23-22. Then the stupid YouTube Fs cut it off, so I couldn't see what the H happened. They did what the heck happened? Why'd they cut it off for? That's interesting. Him in the house says, I know one play doesn't technically lose a game, but Braden Siders with an all-time stupid penalty at the end there. Travis Overdorf says, we've got to get O-lineman or we will be bad again, and that O-line coach should be fired. James Green again says, looking at the bright side, Scotty's got 9 months to really be taught and become a lot better quarterback for next year. Should be a beast. And then Browns and Beer says, I have YouTube TV and had no problem with my stream. They made Jeff Sims look like an all Big 12 QB. They did in the first half. Second half was a little better, but again, he completed 68% of his passes when he had been completing 50 during his entire career. But isn't that what I actually put a post on X? I said, a backup quarterback looking like a Heisman race against West Virginia. A tale as old as time or something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but I mean, how many times have we seen it over the years, man? It doesn't matter who the coach is either. It happens time and time again. Jersey Ear in the house has better days ahead, Couz. Thank you, Jersey Ear. I appreciate it. By the way, go check out his channel. He does good work over there. It wouldn't surprise me if I get, I don't know. I'm not going to say anything. I probably shouldn't have blocked John Waffle. The guy was paying me to talk smack. I probably overreacted there, but man, he was just getting. When a guy's emotional after a loss like that, and you come on talking smack, there's a good chance I'm gonna block you. I normally don't block people, but man, he just rubbed me the wrong way. Trying to question my degree, my fandom. It's ridiculous. ASU was the better team. I'm surprised the score was that close. Great point, Tosh. See, Kevin Varney, did I read your comment from earlier? I did not. Thank you for chiming in. He says, Fred Perry completely redeemed himself, but that roughing the passer penalty cost us the game. It definitely didn't help, man. Definitely did not help. But again, I assume you're talking about the one at the end on Siders. I'd love to go back and see the replay of that because I'm not sure if it looked to me like he was kind of blocked into the quarterback. But I'd have to go watch it. But again, the rules are the rules, and that is the rules. You can't hit a quarterback low, and you can't hit him late, and he did both. Even if it was an accident, I think the refs right there have to throw the flag. I really think it's a dumb rule, but, it is the rule. They don't make the rules. They just enforce them. When you need 8 and you run a 4-yard route, sad. West Virginia played good. They did at times, Jay, but at times they also looked really bad. Scotty is a stud. We have to keep him. I'm not sure I'm willing to go as far as to call him a stud just yet, but I think he definitely has stud potential. Let's say that. This team is going through now where they're playing a lot of close. They went from getting blown out to losing close games. Now they've won a couple close ones too, but I think the Houston game, I think they kind of caught Houston on a bad day, and I think they were just a better team than Colorado. That, basically. But they're losing. That's why they won those. But they're losing close games. The next step is winning more of these types of games. You lost a close game to TCU. You lose a close game to Arizona State. Next step for this. A lot of times it takes seasons to get from the point where you're getting blown out to you're winning close or losing close rather. This team's went through that in one season. So now, if they're able to maintain the core pieces on the roster, build around them, and bring in some really talented players from the portal and from the high school ranks, and and keep some of the two deep guys, develop them even more to where they're ready to contribute more. Have a core group and don't lose 60, 70 guys again. I think next year could be better. I'm not predicting a Big 12 championship by any means, but I do think they can be a bowl team, a 6, 7, maybe even 8-win football team next year. But we're going to have to wait and see who they retain and who they get out of the portal. Those things are going to. I'm not ready to make any predictions or anything yet, but that's what we got to look for. Tyler Kopp says hindsight is 2020. I'm all for being aggressive in the red zone on short yardage. Sure, the field goals look good now, but only because of the situation. And that's fair. I actually had no issue with going for it the first time, but the second time I thought you should have kicked it, honestly, because you were struggling to move the ball and you needed points and I don't know. But again, like you said, hindsight's 2020. So it is what it is. Another super chat from Horror Realm. Thank you so much. Says Rich should have swallowed his pride, kick field goal. Fair enough. A lot of coaches believe if you got points, you got to take them. But I know Rich Rod's not necessarily that guy. Diane, I don't think we can get a bowl game now. There would have to be a situation where not enough teams finish 6-6. And then they've got some kind of thing they do that has to do with graduation rates or grades or something. I don't know. To pick 5 and 7 teams, but the chances of that happening are very slim. West Virginia has no shot at 6 games now because they only have 1 game left and only 4 wins on the year. Beepity Bop says, fairest of them all, hindsight is always 2020. The way things were going in second quarter looked like ASU would put up 40. That's fair too. He probably didn't. He was probably in his head thinking, I don't know that we can hold these guys, offensively or defensively, so we need to get points. I don't know. Don't know what was going through his head. That's okay, Diane. It's a good question. No problem at all. It's time for them. Obviously, we want them to come out and play hard against Texas Tech. Hopefully win. You want them to always win. But the most important thing to me now is starting to build for next year. You start realizing, what players do we want to keep? What players, do we need to replace? What players are probably going to leave on their own? What players do we want to encourage to leave? Those are the decisions now this coaching staff is going to have to start making, and they're going to start that, my understanding, this week in this bye week. Spence won in the house, says as soon as Scotty learns to go through his progression quicker, he has a chance to be very good. That's a great comment, Spence. I agree. Sergeant D says now our ball game is against Texas Tech, our bowl game in 2 weeks. Just look at it that way. And then Nancy Hodges says, yeah, congratulations to the women's basketball team. Absolutely. All right, I'm going to call it a day. Thank you all for hopping on this live show. For those watching on the replay, please don't forget to hit the thumbs up. And if you're watching live on your way out here before we're done, please hit that thumbs up button below. It only takes a second. It's absolutely free to do it. If you haven't subscribed to Couz's Corner yet, there's a button below that says subscribe. It may be white, it may be black, it may be red. If you're watching it on television, you can use your remote. If you're watching on a computer, you use your mouse. If you're watching on mobile, you can use your finger. Just press that button. It takes a split second. It's free. It helps me out, helps me grow. There's a hype button below if you're watching on the replay as well. On your mobile device only, press that, please. It's between the thanks button and the download button. Appreciate you all hopping on here. Thank you for watching. I appreciate your support. Hope the rest of your day's top shelf. God bless you. And even though it was a losing effort, I will always end with Q Country Roads. Thanks, John Kelly. I forgot to shout you out earlier, brother. Have a good